So what we have done so far is we have extracted the data, and then on top of the extractions, we have done some transformations. We have used the cross references, we have used some transformations, and then what we did is we also validated our data. Now, what we're going to do on top of this data is we are going to prepare two reports. One is preload success, one is preload error. So if you remember, we are going to load material master, basic data, and for that we have already extracted the data, transformed the data, and validated the data. So as of now, as we discussed, this would be my valid table, and this would be my invalid table. And I also gave you guys the reason why we are using a column row num, right? So this was for Mara, and this was for description, like MEKT. And then what we did is like we wrote a simple SQL script. The reason is, since we are using more than one validations, there might be a case like my record is passing through one validation, but it's failing through another validation. So I want to be sure my valid table should have only such records that are passing all the validations. They should not be in my invalid table. So I am writing a script over here. So I want to delete from my Mara anything that is present in my invalid table. So that's the reason I'm writing this script now. Now what I will be doing next is I'll be creating my preload reports, one being preload success and the second one being preload error. Let's do that. Then let me go to the enrichment. So what I mean by enrichment is simply the last data that I'm going to load. We call it enriched data, we call it valid data, or we call it preload success data. It depends how you want to name it. Now let me create two data flows. One would be my DF enrich Mara, and second one would be my DF enrich MEKT. What I'm going to do is from my Mara, I'm going to get my valid table. I'm going to use this as my source. And I will simply dump it into my enrich table. Why am I doing this? Because I gave you the reason. Let's keep row num as well, because sometimes we might need these row nums in there while loading. So I don't want to delete it. The reason I'm simply dumping it, because I told you it's not always the case you'll be having a single database over here. You'll be having three repos over here, data stores. One is landing, one is staging, one is enrichment. And whatever is load ready, we will always keep that in the enrich data store. So as of now, since we are using only HANA database, one data store over here, right? So that's the reason I'm simply putting it into my, just dragging and dropping all these columns, all this data into my enrich table. That's it. Otherwise, you will not be using in your projects the same DB. You will just change this DB to enrich DB. And you will just name this table as ENR now. This means this is the final table. ENR underscore Mara. Maybe I name it as 00. You guys name it as 0102 something. Simply dumping this into my enrich table now. Let me do the same thing for MEKT. I go to my MEKT. I get my valid table. I bring this valid table over here. Query. And then I name it as ENR underscore MAKT underscore 00. Please use your name, the table name that's 0000102 according to a repo. Sorry. ENR underscore MAKT underscore 00. Now, along with dumping this data to my two enrich data, I mean to say data, what do you call this? Enrich tables, I will also create a text file so that I don't need to write any scripts later on. I will simply get this file from the location where I will pointing this and I'm good to go. I will just get my enrich report and send it to my data owner. Now you have two options. One, you can simply send him Mara separate in a separate sheet and MAKT in a separate sheet. Two sheets in an Excel. That's one point of doing it. Second, you can also use your Mara and MAKT. You can join them based on Matner and you can create a consolidated report where there will be a material and for each material there will be the descriptions, so that you have only one sheet, so that the data owner has to only check one report. If I want to send him data in two different sheets, then it's simple. He will check the data like this. Okay, this is my Matner, this is my PStat, this is my all the data that I'm going to load. And he will be seeing this data in his second sheet in an Excel. So this is also fine, but there might be a request. No, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to see a consolidated report. So let's do one thing. Let's create this as well, and then let's create a consolidated. Let's first focus on enrichment. Now, you can either do like this, sending data in your two sheets, or you can send a consolidated report. So what you can do to create a consolidated report is, let me take Mara. Let me go here. This is my Mara valid. Let me take MAKT. And let me join this data. So I know my Mara would be like for each header item in data migration, we will always come up with two things, header and line item. I know Mara is my header, and one header can have multiple line items. That is, one material can have multiple descriptions, one in English, one in German, one in Chinese, one in Japanese. It depends in how many different languages you want to they have set their descriptions. So what I will do is I will simply do this. Let me get this. Okay. Then I want to show them the descriptions as well, right? So I don't want to have Matner again because there will be a join on Matner. So it doesn't make any sense to me. So I will just get these three, dump them here, and then I will write a join. Let me take Mara, and then let me take a left outer join. I don't want to take inner join because there might be a case that a material is passing, but its descriptions are failing. All the descriptions are failing. That might also be a case. How do we resolve that? I will answer that question. But I want to keep it as a left outer join as of now. So that whatever Mara have passed, I want them to be in the report. Here we'll be having a join on material number. And you can name this like, let's name this as ENR_MM. So this is a consolidated report. Okay. Now, as we discussed, we also want to create a report, a text file or an Excel file or CSV file, right? Sorry, not text file. We cannot use Excel. Sorry, Excel file I cannot use as my output. So I will create either a CSV file or a .txt file. So how do I do it? Let me show. I go inside. I go to my file format. I do something like create a new file format. I will name this as ff_mara_valid. And location can be, let's keep the location as, say, let me keep the location and documents. Okay. And then file name would be mara_enr.txt. Then I want to separate my file using tabs. Then I want to write my row header as well. And I want to save it. And I will just drag it over here and make it target. So what will now happen? My data from my Mara valid table, it will flow to my enrich table, and it will also create a preload report for my Mara. Same thing I will do for MAKT. Let me do something like this. Create something like flat file underscore MAKT_valid. Again, I will use the same location. Am I going fast or is it okay for you guys? Should I slow down or this is the right pace for you?
It's okay.
Okay, perfect. MAKT_ENR.txt. Again, I want to keep my file as tab separated, and then I want to write my first, I mean to say, I want to have the header as well in the first row of the Excel file. So I'm just keeping this as right row header. Save and close. Let me drag it and drop it. And let me do it like this. Let me save it. Now you also want to create a report here. ff flat underscore material master. I won't name it as Mara MAKT because this is a consolidated report now. Again, I will just drop it to documents and I will write ENR_MM_.txt. Again, this would be tab, and here skip row header, no, right. Yes. Okay. But before doing that, I just want to make sure that what should happen in my file is, I want to make sure for a particular material, I should get all my descriptions. I don't want material number 1, then it's 2 descriptions, then material number 2 is 2 descriptions, and then material number 1 again coming. I want to sort it based on my based on the material number. So I name it like query sort. Nothing doing. Simply I will just do it like this, and then I will order by. I want to order it by material number, so that I for in my file, in my txt file, I get all the descriptions in in a sorted manner. I don't want it to be haphazard, like one description for material and then at the last maybe in 500 at the 500th row my second description. I don't want to do that. So let me do this and let me do make target. Okay, now I'm creating three different files, right? Enrichment part is done. Now there was a question from someone. What if, let me get the board out. Suppose I have my Mara. This is my Mara. Okay. Now this is my MAKT. Okay. Suppose I have a material number 1 and its description in English is say CD. Okay. Say CD player. And its description in German. It's say for example something, Heisen, something. Okay. And say its description in maybe Chinese is something like ABC. Now, this material is passing my validations for Mara. Now, for my MAKT, what they did is they configured English, they configured German, but they did not configure Chinese. Now, what will happen? My Mara will be in my valid table, my English description will be in valid table, and my German description will be in valid table. But my Chinese will be in invalid table, right? Now, if I try to load this data, since Mara basic data, this is my header table, or this is the header, this is the line item. So header will always take the front seat. He's the driver, and these are the passengers. So if the driver is ready, so nobody can stop it from going in as the IDOC, right? So doesn't it mean I'm loading half data? Because this material number 1 will go. See, whenever somebody tells you about header and line items, think of a bus. Header is the driver of the bus and line items are the passengers. Whenever driver is ready, the bus can move. If the driver is not ready and 100% of the passengers are ready, nobody can move the bus. If your driver is ready, but not even 1% of your passengers are ready. If the driver wants to move the bus, he can. He doesn't care about 99% of the passengers. That's what happens with IDOCs and BAPIs. So header is your driver. Now my material number 1 being the header, this is ready to go as an IDOC because this is in my enriched data. But when it comes to the passengers or the line items, only English and German description is ready to go. This Chinese description is not ready to go because this is failing the validation. Now, if I try to load this data, doesn't it mean I am loading half data? So what SAP means by everything or nothing is, this is my everything and this is my nothing. What it means is, if for your header, all line items, okay, they are in the valid, all line items, then and only then you should pass this header to the enriched table. Even if a single line item is failing, you will not pass this header to the enriched table. This way you will stop it from going to S4 unless and until all its line items are passing the validations. So how do we implement it? Simply here. Let me show you. I will go back to this. See, I will write one more SQL script over here. I will write delete from which is my valid header table. Mara, you follow this? The third line. This will make sure if any material is present in my invalid line item, I am again deleting that from my Mara valid. I'm not even passing this to my enriched data now. I'm deleting all those materials where even a single line item is failing. If a line item is failing, that material will be present in my MAKT invalid table, right? So here, by doing the script, by writing the script, I am making sure if even a single line item out of 1000 line items is failing, I am not going to pass this material to my S4 HANA system. I'm not going to load half data. I will only load a material when all its line items are passing the validations. See, if you have 7, suppose I had Marcy as well. Okay. So simply what I will write here is now minor from Marcy. Simple. Now this will now even if a single plant is failing the validations, I'm not going to load my Mara. Now, for example, I have MVKE as well. I want to load sales org data as well. I don't want to keep all those things for you because there are some freshers, they will get confused. Why are we keeping so much of data?
Okay.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
I will do this. But as of now, since I have only MAKT and Mara, I will make sure I don't load half data. So this is how you will do it. From your header, whenever you go to your iDoc, for example, I don't want to go to iDoc as of now. Your iDoc will always have some header and the line items. Okay, as of now, please keep this in mind. Mara is the header for my material table. The first table that should get loaded for material master is Mara. Then descriptions will follow. Then if you have some plant data, it will go to Marcy. You have sales org data, it will go to MVKE. Then so many tables. MARD is there, MBEW is there. So it depends. As of now, I just want to focus on the basic data. This is how you will make sure, particularly for such objects that do not allow duplication. Material master, if I am loading, if I am loading using the external number range, it will not allow me to load the same material number again. It will tell me here material already exists. If I try to load my bill of materials, it will tell me here bill of material already exists. Suppose I don't want to go into bill of material because it will confuse some guys here. So let us confine ourselves to basic data of material migration. So this is how we will stop the incomplete data load. I will delete all such materials from my Mara that are in invalid MAKT table, description table. Okay. Now, even if a single line item fails, I'm not going to load it unless and until everything is in the load ready table. This is how we do it. Okay. Now I'm done till, what do you call this? Enrichment. Wait a moment. Okay. Let me try to run it once. Let's see what happens. Is there any value? No. Okay. What's the error? Okay. You see? The reason here is, if we not do that in the target table, if I don't do change nvarchar to varchar, sometimes the characters like these come and the system believes like this is too huge for me to accept. So where is the error? So this is an enrich mm. So it means I need to go back to my enrich mm and I need to make sure this has been changed to nvarchar. Okay, this is complete, right? Now I want to have a look into this table. So you see now this table is coming as TH000. This data will be exactly same. The only difference here would be multiple spras. So spras, this has multiple descriptions. This R, S, D. This is a language, some language. J might be Chinese or 6 something. So this is how the data is going to show up. Now I want to see if the files are getting created. Now let me go inside MAKT. So this is my MAKT file. This is my Mara file. And this is my consolidated file. What is this? MENR. Okay. Okay. This is my consolidated file. So I already sorted this based on Matner. That's the reason you can see like all the materials and all its descriptions. Now it depends on your object or how you want to design it. If you are trying to send it to your, what do you call that, to your data owners separately, then simply you will copy this data from here and put it into two different Excel sheets. If you want to send them the consolidated data, then you will copy this data, put it into your Excel sheet and send it across. So this will be my preload success. Okay, this file or these two files in two different sheets. That depends how you want to do it. So we are done till enrichment. Now I want to go into my invalid. Okay, inside invalid, again I will take this. It's always better to give invalid files separately. Why? Because if Mara has an error, they can correct that. If MAKT has some errors, they can correct that. What I would myself prefer is I give them two different sheets for Mara separately and MAKT separately. If there is any issue with MAKT, they can look after it. If there is any issue for Mara, they can look after it. Preload error is okay because that is anyways going to be loaded. Okay, now I name this as df underscore invalid underscore Mara underscore mm. This would be my one. This would be my second data flow. Inside my Mara, I will just bring this along. Inside my MAKT, I will get this invalid. Now again, you will create two different files. Okay, let's create for Mara. Again, you will create a file ff underscore mara underscore invalid. Let me keep it inside documents. Let me name it as Mara underscore invalid dot txt. Again, this would be tab separated. Right row header would be yes. Save and close. Let me do this. Make target. And ff makt invalid. Let's name it as makt. Let's do this. Make target, simply dump it. And simply dump it. Now, I want to first show you this, and then I want to focus on one more point. Let's run this job. Now, the only thing I'm doing over here is I'm just dumping the data from my invalid table into a file. That's the only thing we do in invalid data flows. Simply create a report. Okay, this is done. Let's see how the files are looking like. So this is my MAKT invalid. So nothing is invalid in MAKT. Everything is getting passed. Okay. Let me check my Mara invalid now. So for my Mara invalid, so these are the errors. So let me try to do something like this. Wait a moment. Let me create an Excel file. Okay, let me write something like underscore in preload error. Okay, let me open this. Close. Okay, I want to name this as Mara because there is nothing for MEKT. Before doing this, I want to select everything, change this to my text so that I don't have the leading zeros trimmed up here. Now what I will do is, I will simply copy this, post it to here, Control HOI, then just like this. Okay, now let me have a filter. I want to see. Okay, this is my error. Okay, okay. There is only lookup error. Is there any other error? No. Okay. So what does this mean? Lookup matcal new means this matcal new 002, this has not been configured. This is how they take this up. So what is this lookup field? So you will not, basically whenever you present this file to the data owners, they will not understand what is this validation lookup field. You understand it because you have done the coding, but they won't understand. So what we usually do is, again, it depends from project to project. What I personally do is I want to make this file look easy to them. It should be easily readable, They don't know what is this material, Matcal. So what you should do is you should go to SAP and check what is Matcal. Matcal is material group. Okay. Let me see something like this. What I will do this. Then for all this, I will say config missing for material group, so that it becomes easy for them to understand. Hey, why is this error? What is this error all about? Same thing you will do for others. For example, here you're having material group and unit of measure. Means is unit of measure. So what is the unit of measure here? Box. So box is not configured here. Okay. So what I can write over here is like config missing for material group and unit of measure, just to make it readable. Again, see, even at looking at this file, if you ask me, hey, unit of measure is missing, you see, this is a piece, right? Pieces, usually what the business owner will tell you later on is, hey, this is a piece, please change this into ST, because ST and piece is one and the same thing. But what happens in T006, I will show you. When you show him the correct, I mean to say, when you give him the meaningful errors, it becomes easy for him to understand what to do next. Otherwise, he will keep on coming back to you. Hey, what is this? What do you call this? Matical new, and what is this means? Because they don't understand these things. If you see, this is a piece, but in SAP, piece is configured as ST. So the first thought your business owner or the data owner will tell you, yeah, would you please do one thing? Would you change this PC to ST? Wherever there is PC, change it to ST so that we don't have any error. Wherever there's a PC, let me show you. You will always have issues with PC. See, ST is not an issue, but PC is an issue. Okay, see. So what you will do is like you will simply change it to ST. If you see for some of the record, there will be ST and they will not be having an error with the unit of measure. You see, config missing for material group, config missing for MBRSH and material group, but they don't have any error on the unit of measure. So the first thing they will ask you to do is change PC to ST. This is one thing. Now, since we are not having any error other than the lookup errors over here, so it's becoming easy for you to read this report. Change it to ST, otherwise keep it whatever it is coming. Make sense? Now I will rerun my job. Now my PC is getting changed to ST. Now I won't have any issue with the ST. So this is how they correct their logics. It's not like, see, that's the reason it never happens like they will give you a DDD and you can load data to the production systems. No, that's the reason they go through multiple iterations to check where they need to correct the configurations, where they need to correct the transformations, so that whenever we go for the production loads, it should be 100% load. Let's run the job again. Now I shouldn't be getting any issues for PC because PC is gone now. I changed that to ST in my transformation. But yeah, the files will be regenerated now, these 4 files. And that's okay. I will send an update. I will now send an updated preload error to them because that's the whole purpose of doing it. Making sure our data is as close to perfection as possible so that we don't have any issues while loading the data. Okay, now let me simply delete this data and let me get it back from here. Mara invalid. This will delete and recreate it every time. Okay. This will not create a new file. Okay, let me Mara invalid. Let me push it here. Where is that gone? Okay. Let me again delete this. Delete this. These row ID, row num, and that error function column, that's of no use to us. So let's keep this. But you see, there will be less errors now. The reason we already did a transformation on PC. Now there won't be any PC. You see, everything has been changed to ST now, and I don't think there will be any issue with unit of measure. Is it? Let's see what unit of measure. So there is a unit of measure has issues, but this is not PC now. These are not configured. That's okay. I don't care about them. So they might now they might tell you, okay, change this set to ST or change this RL to RA, whatever they configure. Or they might tell you, okay, we will configure these. So that's the whole purpose of giving them this preload error file. Now they can give you a transformation. They can ask you to change this 008. Hey, we don't want to have anything in boxes now in S4 HANA system. Change these boxes to pieces or change this to kgs, something like that. But if they want to have these units of measure over there, then they need to configure this. That's the whole purpose of giving them a clean. That's the reason most of your time will be consumed in the validations. Other than that, it's simply dragging and dropping the whole set. The only difference, I would go and say something like this, and this is true. The only difference between a good data migration consultant and an average data migration consultant is he knows how many validations I have to put. What most of the data migration consultants do, they rely on the DDD, and sometimes your functional owner may not give you all the lookup checks were there in the DDD. So it's our duty to go to SE11 and check what all validations I need to put in, because whatever data I'm asking them, here this is 60% is the preload success, then I should be able to load 60%. It's not like I tell them 60% the preload success and then I am only able to do 2% of the data. That's not making sense to them. So whenever you, for example, you get a material master, never go to BODS and start coding. No, first and foremost, go and check how you are going to load it. Are you going to load it via IDOC, or you are going to load it via this BAPI or LSMW or LTMC, anything. First decide the load approach. Once you're done with the load approach, test that load approach once using some dummy data. If that's working fine, then only go for the code. Why? Because if sometimes your functional owner will tell you, hey buddy, please use this function module. Now you are doing all this coding, and ultimately you find out this function module cannot be used inside data services because of this reason. Then we are wasting our efforts, right? So always do the reverse engineering. First, go and check if that load mechanism is working. As of now, how did I tell you guys here? I just need these 6, 7 columns because I went to SAP first and I checked what are the minimum columns that I need to load basic material data. Then I figured out, okay, I just need PStat, means, material group, MBRSH. That's the reason I'm only getting these fields. I don't want to load all because I just want to show you how to do it. So for that, I loaded up some dummy data and then I found out. So please, whenever you are given any object, no object is complex if you know how to load it. If they give you a function module, I will tell you how to see if that function module will work. If they give you an IDOC, go to BODS and just create a dummy data flow and create some dummy data and try to load it once, one record. Then it will be easy for you to load hundreds of records if you're able to load one record. Okay. So we are done with this. Then the only option left the only thing left now is load, how we will load it. But before going there, I want to tell you one more thing. Let me show you. Okay, let me do something like this. Suppose this material number, this has a validation lookup field, magical new. If the same, see, all the validation lookup field, they will come in a single row. But the moment other 3 validations, suppose here, let's come back to here. See, whatever is failing because of this validation, it will be in a single row. Whatever is failing because of validation mandatory, it will be in a single row. Okay, it's not like all the errors will be in a single row. No, it's not like that. For example, if let me take the same material, or I can show you once. Okay, suppose, let me take one thing. Okay, I want to fail this material in mandatory as well. I will write some code over here so that it fails. Then you will understand. Okay, let me write a dummy. No, what I want to fail it. I want to fail a material because of some other validation. Okay, let me fail it inside the format. Okay, let's see. Inside format, I keep like this. Matner. I want to show you something which will be important going forward. You will definitely need, there's a transformation which we call as reverse pivot. So you will definitely need it. Why we need it, I want to show you first. I don't want to tell you this is reverse pivot, this just reverses the, this just creates some 10 rows into a single column and that's it. No, why do we need it? I want to show you first. Suppose I have a validation on this. If I write something like is not equal to this. So if my material is not equal to this, it will pass. Or okay, no, I have to write if this is equal to this. If this is equal to this, then it will go to my fail. Okay, let's run this now. I want to run this again. I want to show you something. This is just a dummy, what do you call this? Validation, just to make you understand why do we need to use reverse pivots. Okay, let's go to validate. Let's see the invalid table now. And let's do it for this one. Still failing because of this only. No, I want it to fail because of two reasons. Just a moment. Okay, now let's see what's happening here. Okay, now you see what I did is like I just used a dummy validation over here. I just want to show you sometimes there can be a scenario where a single material or a single row is failing because of multiple reasons. If you see, all the data is same, but now here TI error column is different. One is telling me uh, this material is failing because of format error, and this material is also failing because there is a validation lookup validation is failing because the material group. What is the material group? Medical. TER. This has not been configured in target system. Now, suppose the same material is failing because of 10 different reasons. It's failing in validation format, it's failing in XREF, it's failing in lookup, it's failing in mandatory. Now, for one particular material, I can have at max 4 different line items. So, suppose now I have thousands of materials that which are failing. So my business owner or the data owner, he will not go to each line item and correct it. What he expects is if the data is exactly same for 2 rows and it's failing because of 2 different reasons, then give me a single row over here and just give me a comma separated value. Something like, hey, one is validation format is failing, comma, validation lookup is failing, so that you can tell them in a single line, hey, this is failing because of this and this. There can be a scenario. Suppose I can give you one more scenario. Suppose my business owners, they gave me a list of material. They asked me, hey, these materials are out of scope. So when I'm saying out of scope, I can write something like here, validation mandatory. Okay. Inside this, I can write a validation. Hey, if these many materials are present in this out of scope list, fail them. But again, when they are out of scope, they will not be. I'm talking about material. I want to give you an example related to an object which is dependent on material. Let me take an example of bill of material. Now, bill of material is dependent on materials, right? What if my business owners tell me, hey, buddy, there are 10 different materials which will be out of scope. We will not be creating them in the target system. Now, when I do the validation for my bill of materials, I will have 2 different errors because I have already written a validation for out of scope, and we already have one more validation here, validation lookup. So my report will be like, hey, this material does not exist in target system. And the second line item will tell me, hey, this material is out of scope. When the material is out of scope, it is expected this will not be in target system. So you will not tell your business owner, hey, this is out of scope and this is not present in target system. He will tell me, buddy, this is not, you should not even report this to me. Just keep it as out of scope, because we have already decided these materials will not be in scope. We will not migrate them. So you cannot tell them validation lookup fail for that material. Why? Because that's already failing the validation for out of scope, right? So in such cases, this becomes handy, like turning your two rows into a single row, and then just having a single error. Do you guys follow? Because you will definitely use this. As of now, you are feeling like, hey, I have two different records. I'm seeing like, okay, lookup fail, format fail. I can tell them, hey, this material do this and this. But you consider 10,000 records, 50,000, 60,000 records, and then someone has to look into it. He will not go row by row. So what he can do, he can select one material, okay, correct all its validation errors in a single go. For example, for this material, they said this material group, medical new, this is not in scope. So you will apply some validation. Hey, if TR is there is TR, it's out of scope. Now, suppose you are trying to tell them there is a this material. I'm giving an example. You are telling them, hey, unit of measure ST is not configured. Now this VPST KLX is not configured. You are giving them 6-7 line items, and then at the end you are giving them one validation. Hey, this medical is out of scope. So there is no point for them to correct unit of measure, to correct VPSTA, because even if they do it, TR is out of scope, right? So if they see all these errors in a single row, consolidated row, and they can simply see, okay, this TR is out of scope, so they will ignore this error and this error. You guys follow me? If anyone has any questions on why we do this, please speak up. How we do it, I will show you. But why we do it, this is important. Because no data owner wants to have a look at the data that is scattered. If all the data is same and only this is different, why should I look at two different records? I should look at one different record, then comma separated, pipeline separated, hash separated. Something should be there, and you should tell me all the different errors in a single line. Why are you giving me, I mean to say, for 200 materials, you are giving me how many is 4 twos are 800 lines, when the error is only for 200 materials. You can give me 200 lines and then comma separated, hash separated, pipeline separated errors, because rest of the data is same. The only difference is error. You guys follow me? How we do it,
Yes.
that's not a question. I will show you how to do it. That's a reverse pivot. But I don't want to take you to the books or PPT. Hey, this is pivot, rows to columns. This is reverse pivot, columns. Sorry, rows to columns, and pivot is column to rows. I don't want to do that. I want to tell you the exact scenario, how and why we will use it in data migration. You will always use reverse pivot. What to remember in case of reverse pivots is, you need to now rotate your data, right? You will be having multiple rows, and you need to change them into one column. So there should be some axes, right? Whenever you go to Excel and do something like pivot, there is an axis on which the data can be rotated. As of now, for us, the axis can be the DI error column. Your DI error column can have multiple values. Rest of the things are same. We have already seen this. Let me go to Mara. Now we have already seen this. Everything will be same. There will only be a difference of DI error column. So I need to create a pivot axis. So how do I do that? Let me show you. Let me do something like query underscore pivot underscore axis. Let me join it. Okay. Okay. I don't want to get everything. I just want this. I don't want my row nums because that's not going to help me. Row action, I don't need. I will only get this field because this is what's going to change, right? And below this, I will use a column and I will name this as pivot underscore axis. Let me keep this as say 400. Now, if you have a look at the validation, you will always keep the validations like this, huh? Validation mandatory, validation lookup, validation xref, and then your validation format. What does this mean? It means whenever there is a validation, these will be the prefixes now. So all your validation will be followed by validation mandatory, then something, validation format, then something, validation lookup, then something, right? So when I use this, so what I will do, I will go here and inside this, I will write some code. So I'm trying to tell my system, if my error column, this error column, this is like in SQL, like is something used for a wildcard. For example, you want to see if there is anything like SAP data, SAP data services, SAP data services designer, SAP underscore 123, SAP underscore something something. You are just sure about the first three characters or first four characters or something. Then you want to see, you want to get all those records which are starting with SAP. So in such cases, you will use like. You already know that, right? If I use something like percent, then ABC percent, it means ABC should be there. At the beginning, something can be there. At the end, something can be there. This is like a wildcard. But if I say something like ABC percent, what does this mean? This means this string has to start with ABC and then it can have anything. Suppose I have 20 different Manoj in my class. Manoj Kumar, Manoj Sinha, Manoj this, Manoj A, B, C, D. Now you ask me, hey, I need a list of students whose first name is Manoj. So what will I do? I will say select star from this table where name like Manoj percent. So it will be like Manoj will be Manoj, then whatever is after that, you will get all those records. Same is the concept that I will be using here. I know whenever I'll be validating my data, I will always have something like this at the beginning. Validation underscore MANDT. Now this validation mandatory under percentage, it means if the validation is failing because of any column inside the mandatory validation, this should get captured over here, right? I will change this to 1. Whenever there is a validation, that is happening because of validation mandatory, even though there are 10 different columns that are failing inside this. I already discussed with you. If there is a record that is failing inside mandatory validation because of 3 different columns, then it will be validation mandatory column 1, column 2, column 3. But the moment the same record is failing because of lookup validation, then there will be second row. If there are 100 rows inside the lookup validation, it's failing because of all those 100 rows. Then it will be validation lookup column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, comma, comma. So at max inside your validation, inside your invalid table, a single record can have 4 different rows. Validation mandatory percentage, anything after validation mandatory. It means this is failing because of mandatory validations. Validation lookup, validation xref, validation format. Now, what I do is, I'm trying to tell the system, hey, whenever there is mandatory validation, percentage, it can be anything. See, if you look at this mandatory valid, for example, this val format, it means this is failing because of format validation that I'm using. Failed rules for what? Matner. If there is one more column, it will be like Matner, comma something, as we have already seen for some other records. You see, I will show you. Let me right click this and then do this. You see, if there's a validation, failing because of multiple columns, it will be something like this. Hey, this is failing because of MBRSH, MATCL means. This is failing because of MATCL means. So there will be a all the validation inside a validation transform, inside a particular validation form transform. If there are multiple rows that are getting failed, sorry, if there are multiple columns that are making the data fail, then it will be all under in a single bucket. Validation lookup, then all the columns. You see here, validation format, then all the columns will be here. It's not like validation format Matner, validation format MBRSH for the same column. No, whatever is failing because of format, they will be like hyphen separated, like this, semicolon separated, and whatever is format, it will be in a single line. Now I'm going to use of the same thing. I'm going to use the same concept over here. So I'm trying to tell my system, hey buddy, if there is a validation that is failing because of my mandatory, please change that to 1. Now, what else values I can have? I can have 4 different values, right? I'm trying to tell the system, if my validation is failing because of lookup, name it as 2. Change the value to 2. I want the pivot axis, because inside your reverse pivot, there should be an axis, and this axis should always have some numbers. It cannot have random numbers like 1 2 3 4 n number of numbers. I should at least know which number is coming in for this axis. So that's the reason I want to design it this way. I know my data will be failing because of validation mandatory. It can have n number of fields over here, that's okay, but I want to name it as 1. If my row or my record is failing because of lookup, I want to name it as 2. If my lookup is failing because of format, I want to name it as 3. And if my lookup is failing because of xref, I want to name it as 4. Rest can be anything. You name it as null or 5 or anything, it's okay. This is never going to happen. You will always have 1 2 3 4, because your record can fail because of mandatory validations, your lookup validation, format validation, xref validation. And whenever you are dealing with the reverse pivot, you need to make sure this value is exactly the same value that you are using here for the validation transforms. Otherwise, your code will fail. It will give you errors. Now I have the pivot axis. Any questions till pivot axis? Why am I creating this? I told you, for reverse pivot, I need an axis. I need to rotate my data based on this axis, and I need to know what all values this axis will be bringing together, bringing its with itself, right? I cannot design an axis and I don't know the value. It will be bringing sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 900. We cannot do it like this. We need to have a specific number for each line item. As of now, I know for my mandatory validation will come, lookup validation will come, format will come, xref will come. So I am assigning it 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, after this, I will go to my transforms, and then I will go to my, I think, data quality or data integrator. Yeah, this is my reverse pivot. Even the name suggests it will be just rotates the values from rows to columns. We need rows to columns. In case you want to change the columns to rows, for example, there can be a scenario where you have comma separated values, right? You want to change them to different rows. You can do that as well. Let me bring it and let me join it. Makes sense till now?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there are 2 sections over here. One is pivot, non-pivot columns. One is pivot column. As the name suggests, non-pivot columns are the ones where the data is not going to change, right? So I will just copy all these and I will just drag them to here. So this becomes my non-pivot column because the data is not going to change for sure for these. Now this is going to change. So I will just drag it over here. And then which is the pivot axis column? My pivot axis column is going to my pivot axis, right? Now this pivot axis column will have how many values? We already designed this, right?
4 values.
This can have 1. And for 1, what did we give? For validation, I can say column prefix as mandatory underscore. Okay, let me give mandatory. Add. What did I give 2? 2 I give to lookup. Now 3 I gave to
format.
Okay, format. And 4 I gave to my xref.
Yeah.
Right. Now I want to come back. I want to again repeat this what I have done here. I know up till this column, my data is not going to change. So I will just keep them in non-pivot columns. I know my dir column is going to change. I'm keeping that inside the pivoted columns. And I already created an axis over here, pivot axis. So I'm keeping this as pivot axis over here. Then I have already designed my code like this, right? 1 will be my mandatory, 2 will be my lookup, 3 will be my format, and 4 will be my xref. It can say, for example, if, for example, you are having a material number 1, okay? Now it's having same data is having till this, right? From this to this, same data is there. Now, only this is changing. It's okay. But what if inside this as well, there's a duplicate number is coming, duplicate value is coming. For example, you have, say, like for the same material is coming 2 times, right? What will happen then? You will abort that value. You don't want to have the duplicate values inside here. You will either you have the options abort first row, last row. What if 2 duplicates are coming? You are telling the system, hey, this is always going to be unique, right? Now, what if this is not coming as unique? Suppose for a particular material number, this p stat new is 1 and for again p stat new is 2. So this is not unique, right? This set. So what will happen in that case? You can either abort that, you can keep the first row or the last row.
So is it better to have distinct before reverse pivot? Like in the query, we can keep distinct, so it will not.
No, it will still not happen. It will still not happen. I already kept that. But there might be a scenario. If that happens, then it will fail. Or you can keep the first row or the last row. Depends.
Okay, got it.
Okay. You are just trying to tell the system initially, hey, these many records, just give me a second. You are just trying to tell the system, hey, these many records are going to be the distincts. Now, if a duplicate value comes out of that, once in a blue moon, right? Then what will it do? It will fail it. Now, if you see, I'm going to do, so till here we are good, right? But now it will give me 4 different columns. Wherever there's a mandatory validation, it will push that record here. Wherever now you see the rows are getting changed. 4 different rows can be changed to 1 column, 1 row. 4 rows getting changed to 1 row, but that 1 row can have 4 different columns now. Whenever there's a mandatory validation, it will come to this. Whenever there's a mandatory validation, lookup validation, it will come to this. Format validation will come to this, and xref validation will come to this. But what does this mean? It means you are changing multiple rows to 1 row, because now you are introducing the rows over columns over here, right? You are changing the rows to columns now. Now I can directly either do this, drag them and drop them, or I can do something like this. I will show you once. Or I can name this as error, and I can simply do something like uh, what I would prefer doing. If there's a mandatory error, mandatory, so I will do something like this, and pipeline is concat. I'm just concating the data. And after this, how do I know this is mandatory and this is lookup? I can use something like a single pipe or hash, something like this, and then I can have something like lookup, this, lookup error. I'm just trying to make this beautiful. Other than this, if you don't want to do this will still work. You are just pushing these four into the four different fields. But I want to have a single column. I will drag these four here and I will have a single column as well. I will show you how this works. This, then what if there is an format?
Instead of hash, it's better to have comma, right?
No, I don't want to. It's okay. You use a comma.
Okay.
Use a pipeline. It depends on your mood. Today you are in a mood to use comma. Tomorrow you can use hash. It's okay. Okay. So let me do something like this, pipelines, and then again I want to do something like this, and the last one is xref. Why am I writing this xref and all? Because I will not otherwise know which validation is this, right? Because I already changed that. I will show you. I don't think I need this. I doubt whether I need this, because this will be, let's do one thing. Let's do like this. Let's see what happens. Okay. Then I do like this. I do like this. Let me use a comma and a space between the two commas. Let's see what happens now. I don't think I would need it. Followed by lookup, then followed by format, then followed by xref. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I have error. And for the sake of simplicity, I also will be dragging them along here so that you understand what we are trying to do. Now I won't do this. I will just do this. And for the sake of learning, I want to just create a table as well. RP is reverse pivot. Okay. And then drag it and drop it. Let's go here. As of now, we are having format error for only one material. Only for that, we will have two validation errors. Let's see what happens now. It should work. Okay, let's see now what's happening. Okay. Okay, let's see that one for all the materials. We will only have one error, right? Because we are having lookup error, but only for one material. I should not have a, see, only one has this lookup format error. Let's try to have like this. Just a moment. Like this, and then I want to see how this looks. Now see how this is looking. Now what's going inside is like I'm trying to tell them in a single row. Yeah, this has a validation on lookup. Lookup is failing for what? Material group, and this has also a format error for material. You want to do it like this, a single column and concat everything, comma separated, or you want to do it like in four different columns. Okay, inside in a single, what do you call that? In a single sheet, you come to know, okay, this material has no issues at the mandatory level, one issue at the lookup level, that is configuration issue is there, one issue at the format level. So there is some issue with the format, nothing at the xref level. So this is how you can convert your rows into columns. This is how we use the reverse pivot. And your file will be generated accordingly. This, you see, format DI error, xref DI error, lookup DI error. So this is how it's going to work now. Any questions on this? Or you guys want me to go back and discuss this once again? Because this is something new to you. So as of now, from the data services point of view, my extraction is complete, my transformation is complete, my preload success is complete, my preload error is complete. How to use the different form transformations, I have done that. How to use an Excel, how to use the flat file, how to use the flat file as a source, as a target, we have done that. How to create these flat files, we have done that. And how to use these various transformations. Mainly, you will use the platform. How to use like case, we discussed. How to use this merge, we discussed. How to use this query, this will always be there, we discussed. We will use this when we load. SQL transform is something like this, makes your life really easy. For example, let me show you over here. Okay, now sometimes what happens is like there might be a table coming from source, let's say BKPF and BSEC, and you need to join these two tables. If you try to join these two tables, it will take you, I don't know how long it's going to take you to extract the data, because the volume of data is huge. So what basically data services does is, whenever you are, let me go here now. I want to go here, I want to explain something. So how does data services work actually? It will get the data from here, get it to this query. It will get the data from here, get it to this query, right? And then inside this query, it will have a join, and then it will pass the data to the query transform. Here it will pass directly to the table. Again, it will come to this, then inside this file. So that's the reason we usually make sure like we use least number of queries, because the data has to flow from one level to another level. It's not like data is flowing from here to here. No, data is flowing from here to here, then to here, and then to here. That's the reason whenever you will see this monitor tab, you will see the actual data, how the data is getting flowed. You know, okay, this query distinct, query pivot, query distinct. It means the data is flowing from one query to another query. Now, sometimes, suppose this is BKPF and this is BKPF and this is BSEC. If you directly use BKPF and BSEC from source and try to join them, it will take us eternity to even extract the data. Why? Because the volume of data is huge, humongous in such tables. So what we do is, you remember we discussed optimization of data. So if you remember, what we discussed that time was, there's a concept called push down optimization. So in order for the push down optimization to happen, we do is like we don't use any joins, we don't use any transformations when we are extracting data from SAP source. We simply drag and drop the columns one to one. That way, the data extraction can be fast. Now, once I am done with the data extraction, I can simply use a SQL transform. Again, I would say this is not recommended. You should not do this. You should always follow this approach. Getting the tables, joining them inside the query, it's okay. But sometimes there can be some scenario where you're forced to use the SQL. So what you can do here is you can directly write the queries inside this transform and you can still get the data. For example, here I want to use a SQL transform. So what I can do is I will straight away write the queries. What I can do, see, select a data store, but the issue here is now somebody can ask me why would I extract data from SAP one-to-one column into my HANA DB? Why not straight away extract the use the SQL query and extract from SAP? No, it doesn't support. It will only support your HANA database or the database that you have. It cannot get connected directly to your SAP. So you have to extract the data first into your HANA DB. Then you can use that data store connection and do some joins over here or some complex logics over here. But you have to extract the data first from SAP. Okay. I again I will repeat. If you have the data in your SAP source, which is like millions, then simply do 1:1 mapping. Drag and
Uh,
drop to the target and
just
extract it.
mhm.
Please always do 1:1 mapping when you are getting the data from source for huge tables. Say,
Okay.
let me go back here. We're extracting somewhere from SAP, right? Let me go back. So whenever you are extracting, this is the reason we do landing. Simply extract 1:1. Nothing doing, just 1:1. Don't
Okay.
write
No,
any
no
complex
where
transforms
condition,
here.
no from clause or anything.
No, no, no. Where clauses you can have, but don't
Okay.
do any transformations over
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Why?
Okay.
Because if this is 1:1 transformation, simply drag and drop from left to the right schema. Then the push down happens. What is the push down? Then every operation is happening at the what do you call that? At the DB level, not at the server level. As of now, if you see like 200 records are flowing, it's loading the server, right? Job server. If you want push down optimization to happen, then everything is getting done. Sometimes I need to just call out the field names, right? I cannot every time write select star from this table. No, I cannot do that. Sometimes I might need to call out, hey, I need this table matner, this table p stat old, p stat new. I cannot keep on writing this much of detail. So what we do in SQL is like we use the concept of aliasing. Aliasing is you are just naming this table as A, you are just naming this table as B. Now, whenever I want to refer to this table, I will simply write A. SQL understands. Say A is now this Mara and B is now MAKT. Okay. Now I can write on A dot matner, B dot matner. Same thing. What we have done inside, I will show you. So if you remember when we were doing the join over here, simply select star from I. Let me write star. Now what this star means? Everything from this table and everything from this table. But I don't want everything from this table and this table. I just want select A dot star. A dot star means select all the fields that are coming from Mara, and I just want select B dot SPRAS, that is language, B dot MAKTX, I guess, B dot MAKTG. Let me update the schema. You see, now I have only all the fields coming from A, and from B I have SPRAS, MAKTX, and MAKTG. Now, if you want to change it to left join, you can even do that, left outer join. Again, I can update. That's okay. Now, if you want to change the row size, I can make it maximum 5,000 I should make. Again, it will array file size the moment you change it from 1,000 to 5,000. Again, this is the code optimization technique. You are just speeding up your code. Now, I can simply dump this into my table. Simple. Say stg underscore mara underscore SQL test. I can do this. Simply dump it to there. Here, what it had to do, get data from here to query, get data from here to query, then join something. If something is something was in MAKT and I didn't need that, it was still coming to this level. But here it doesn't work. Whatever is joining between these two, only that will come out, right? So this will definitely speed it up. Because
Okay.
most of the data migration project, you
Mm-hmm.
can use it at the end of the day, but you should not use it for each and everything. Because
Okay. Mm-hmm.
if for example, there's a data migration project and someone is writing the SQL queries inside. If
Mm-hmm.
he leaves the project and somebody else comes up, it's very difficult to just go through these queries and just see what he is doing. As of now, there is only a join. It's okay. But here it's easy for everybody to understand. Okay, he is doing
Yeah.
something here, he's doing something here. This you should
Mm.
only use when there are some complex scenarios. Or there's a scenario like you need to join some big volume data tables, and that is inside normal queries. Let me go back here first. Inside normal queries, where is this? Okay, here. Inside normal queries, I can have a global variable here, right? I can use a global variable, and I can, for example, I want to have a p stat is equal to some global variable. I can do something like
Okay.
this and global variable like this. Now, how do I use a global variable inside the SQL transform? Just remind me at the end of the session, I will answer this question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Inside the normal queries, you guys are fine. I will define the global variable and I can use that here. But how do we define this global variable inside the SQL transform now? Got it? I will show you. Okay, now I have the data here. The same data that's there. The only difference is I'm not having a row num over there. If you want to remove the row num, you can simply just either call out all the field names over here. Instead of a dot star, you can just call out all the field names, or you can use a query after this and strike out row num because you don't want that row num. Otherwise, the data will be same here and there. Now, I want to just take this data flow and I want to show you something. I want to show this is important. How to use a global variable inside the SQL transform now. Please remember this. I want to do this. There can be a requirement. You want to use a global variable now. How can I do that? Let me do like this. Let me, no, I don't want to disturb this. I will replicate this. Replication is simply creating one more data flow. I don't want to, because see, if I did some, if I did some changes over here, it will get reflected in my transform job because it's the same copy. If you want to sometimes test some logics and you want to change some data flows, but you don't want them to get replicated in the original jobs, so always replicate. Now this is a different data flow and this is a different data flow. If I make some changes here, it will get reflected here as well because we are using it here. If I want to test something, I should not do it. I should just replicate a data flow and then I should use it here. Okay. Now I want to do something like I want to have a global variable. Say global variable dollar global variable underscore say means. Okay. Varchar. Say I want to only have st now. Now you know if you want to use a global variable over here, it's simple. You will simply do this equal to and this, right? Am I right? This is easy for you guys because we have
Yes.
already done this. But if you want to use the same here, how would you use it? So you have to do something like where means, okay, a dot meins is equal to, I'm not sure if I have to use these two or these two braces. One or the two will work. One of these two, it works for integers, and the second work for varchar or string. So we will check it out. But please check it out in your cases. Sometimes you might have a global variable as an integer. Then either this will work or this will work for sure. But you need to check it. I will check this first. Now inside this, I will use a global variable.
What
If
if
you
it has both?
no. Sometimes you can define the global variable as integer, and sometimes you can define that as varchar.
Okay. Got it.
If
Yeah.
this varchar doesn't work, try to use this big braces. That's what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
Because SAP, you are now working at the SQL level. Now SQL doesn't understand this GV means, right? This
Got it.
BODS understands this.
Yeah.
Now how do you tell the SQL at the SQL level? Hey, this is my ST now. So you have to use these braces. Let's see if this works. Now, see, I am using a global variable now. If I try to update this, now this will give me an error because SQL does not understand this global variable. So before using these global variables, uh, always update the schema. Otherwise, you will not be having the output schema for this. Okay. Now let's try to run this. Now let's see what happens. If this gives me no, it's not giving me an error. So let's see what's happening here. What is the, see, I should be only having ST over here. ST and here as well. I could only be having ST. Eight one seven zero 8170. So this is how you can use a global variable inside inside your what do you call this? Inside your SQL transforms. Or sometimes it can also happen. For example, I can give you one more scenario. Suppose you are using two different data stores. You see this data store can only point to 1 DB now. You follow me? This data
Yes.
store, you cannot point it to two. What
Mhm.
if your one table is in the HANA data store, HANA DB, and your second table is inside, maybe there is, suppose we are assuming right now, there is HDB HANA database underscore 2. Now you cannot point this data store to two data stores, right? You can only have one connection over here.
Yes.
What if you are having this table in one DB and data store and this table in another data store? How will you control it? You got my point.
Yeah.
Okay. Then simply, let me do this properties. I will simply do something like this. HANA DB. I'm giving you all the use case scenarios. This you will encounter these scenarios over here. The reason I want to just, for example, this should work. I don't know if this will work, but let's see. As of now, I have both in the same DB, right? Now, let me try to run it. Will it work? The reason I want to use this connection over here is I want to go to some other point. Wait a moment. No, this is giving me an error. Why? Okay, invalid schema name. Okay, then I have to use something like this, I guess. Do I need to use this? No. Just dot system. Will it work? I don't know. But let's see. No, it's not working. Now things have started to move at the database level. That's the reason we need to be sure like what we are typing over here. It will not give you an error at the compilation time. It will give you an error at the runtime. Now what's the issue now? No. I think I need to check this, buddy. I will surely come back to you on this because I need to show you how we can now control this as well using the global variable. Sometimes, for example, you are running your code for mock 1. Your DB will be database 1. But for production, it will be HANA DB underscore P. For quality, it can be HANA DB underscore Q. You cannot keep on coming here and changing it, right? See, what I mean to say is you can even have this DB as a global variable. How do I do it? I will show you tomorrow because this is not working. I need to check. Let me give it a last try. I want to go to S4 as of now, but I will show you this.
Okay.
No, this is giving me an error. I need to see how this works. Now, so what we have done so far is, so you remember whenever we have to use a global variable, you can either use this braces or these square braces. For varchar, you will use this, and for integers, you will use this. Now the big part, the load part. Before loading this material master, I want to take you guys to S4 now. So please open your S4 and try to connect to this system. You will see a screen like this here. Everyone please log into this. For preload success and preload error, I hope you guys now understand. The moment you create those, you will send them to your data owners and they will check those reports. If they feel that the report is good, you will load them. If they feel no, there is some issue, they will ask you to correct those issues and then you have to rerun your programs. Generate the preload reports again. Unless and until you don't get a green signal to load data, you cannot load. I also want to emphasize on one point over here. Inside the transformations, you see, mostly we have done the SAP ready. I mean to say, we want to make sure that the data is SAP ready. But you see, inside the validation format, this is not SAP. This is not what SAP recommends me to do. Like this is not required for the SAP to load my data. So this can be a business scenario, right? Now you should join the dots. When we first discussed about the validations, I told you data can be of two types. One is SAP ready, one is business ready. What I mean by SAP ready is the data should be like if I push this data to my S4, you should be able to load. So you will always check the mandatory columns and you will check the check columns or configuration columns. If that's done, you will be able to load the data to S4HANA. But there can be some other scenarios what the business might ask you to do. Like my business is asking me, hey, if this material is like this, do not load it. This is not what SAP recommends, or this is not what SAP needs, right? SAP can even load this. But sometimes your business may ask you to do such type of validations. So if you do such type of validations, you are making the data business ready. Every business ready data should be SAP ready. Otherwise, you will not load it. What if you are just checking if this matter is equal to this and then trying to load? No, it will not load. For your data to be business ready, it has to be SAP ready first. SAP ready data, you will be able to always load that to S4 HANA system. Everyone can now log into this system. I want to show you something over here.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Then let me first show you. I told you I would personally go for iDocs and BAPIs, right? Let me take an iDoc as of now. For example, you want to check, you just Google out, hey, what is the iDoc that I will use for my material? Okay, let me show you how I will do it. For example, I'm doing materials for the first time. So what I will do, I will go to this my Google. I will check, I will check material master iDoc in SAP. This is how we do it. Okay, now let me go here. I try to find out if there is any iDoc. It will always give you something over here. Now someone is trying to ask me, okay, you can use iDoc input mat mass, or someone can tell you, okay, this is the mat mass. Mat mass 03 is the one I'm using. I will simply take it and I can go to, please remember this, WE30. I would suggest keep a note of this. For iDocs, I will go to my WE30. I will push in this iDoc. Now this is giving me material master. Okay, I now know, okay, this iDoc exists. If I write something like 0309, something like this, it does not exist. It means there is nothing like matma 03009. Okay. So this gives me a surety. Okay, this iDoc, it does exist over here. Now I want to see, there's a requirement for me. I want to load only basic data. Now I want to see what tables it can load. Are you guys writing it down somewhere? Like WE30? I want you to remember these iDocs. You use 05. I am comfortable with 03. It's not a hard and fast rule. There will always be enhancements. But I would use MATMA 03. You use MATMA 04. It's okay. If MATMA 03 is not working, I will switch to MATMA 04. I was recently loading materials. MATMA 02 was not loading. There was some issue at the FM level. Then I checked MATMA 03. It was working. It depends what works for you. You can use MATMA 05. Now let me go back. Now, the moment I hit this MATMA, I will click on this. Okay? Okay. This is my MATMA iDoc. First of all, what is an iDoc? If someone asks you an interview, what is an iDoc? Now, what does this mean? I know this is intermediate document, but what does this mean? Okay, you see how I would define it as, you consider I need to go to your home. Okay, I need to go to Ram's home. Now, what do I need? I need some information. Okay, let me say this is the document. What do I need? I need some information. Okay, from where I am coming. Okay, let's say this is from where I am coming. That is source to where I am going. Okay, then I need to, I being the, I always told you, there will always be a header and there will always be the line items. Suppose Mara is my header. Then there will be Mara segment. It will be the parent of everything. Then for Mara, you can have different segments, say Marcy, say MAKT, say MVKE. So ultimately, what is this IDOC? It's just a packet of data, right? It's just that letter, what we used to send in the old days. If I need to send a letter, I need to tell this letter or a postman, hey, you need to send it to this address. This is coming from this address. This is the content of this address letter, right? So this is my some data. Okay, I want to tell it, hey, this is coming from your BODS. How do I do that? I do it in the control segment. In your iDocs, there will always be like two segments. One is control segment. Inside this control segment, you will always give the details like sender address and receiver address. Then there is data segment where you will give this data. Now, at the iDoc level, it can take one header and n number of line items. Please remember this. It will take one header at a time, one packet, one iDoc. It will always have one unique material and n number of line items. It can take along n number of descriptions. It can take along n number of plants, n number of sales organizations, n number of valuation data. It doesn't matter. But at the top, it should be only this detail will be corresponding to only one material header, one material number. So this is my data. Whatever is inside this packet, whatever letter I am writing to RAM, this is my data. I need to tell my postman, hey, this is coming from Brad, this is going to RAM, this is my control segment. And there is so what is an iDoc simply? In layman terms, it's just a packet of data. Inside this packet of data, there will be a header, there will be line items, there will be the information from where this is coming to where this is going, and we store this information in control segment. And there is data segment. There is one important question in the interviews. Hey, inside control segment, there is an R key. Why do we use that? When we load data, just remind me this. I want to emphasize on this R key. This is very important. So whenever we go for the load, somebody please remind me this. Now you understand what is it? What is an iDoc? Simple, a packet of data. That's it. Now, I already told you, this is a packet of data. This has this is a Mara segment. I want to see what this Mara can take along. I double click on it. I do a segment editor. Okay, I can load Matner. I can load this field, RNAM. Now, why do I need to go to WE30 and do this research? Because when you are getting your DDD, you need to find the IDOC or the BAPI first, and then you need to check whatever fields are in scope, are they present in this IDOC or BAPI? Suppose they have a Z field, and that Z field is not over here. You cannot simply tell them, hey, I can load it. You will tell them this field, I will load it by the IDOC. Then you need to either extend this or enhance this IDOC, or you need to do this using an LSMW, something like that. Okay, you need to create a function module, a wrapper, something like that, or you need to create some ABAP code to load those Z fields, or you need to enhance this IDOC to create those Z fields. You cannot just tell them, hey, okay, we will use MatMask. No, I will not do that. I will first go to W30 and I will check what all fields are there. If all my fields that are in scope, they can be loaded by this IDOC, then only I will tell them, okay, I'm good to go with this IDOC. This is the load method. If not, then I will check for a BAPI. For Z fields, forget Z fields as of now. You cannot do them using a general method. No, they have to do something for those. But there might be scenarios where a particular IDOC is not having some field which the business wants. So you need to check this IDOC in the WE30 segment first. If all those fields what they want, are they even present in this IDOC? Okay. Now I am checking for Mara. I want to check the same thing for Marcy. What is inside Marcy? Okay, see, Mara is the header. Please remember this. Mara is your header. It can take one material at a time, but it can take multiple descriptions. It can take multiple plants. You see, this is parent, this is child, but this is a grandchild. This is not at the same level as this. You see the levels. When I want to have my material loaded, I will simply get my material and map it to this Mara. How I map it in BODS, that's a different question. But whenever I am trying to load MAKT, it will have a dependency on Matner from Mara. When I want to load plants, you see, Marcy is a plant. Whenever I want to load plants, it will have a dependency on Mara. But when I want to load this MARD table, it's not having a dependency on Mara now. No, it's having a dependency on Marcy. How we design it inside bot, that's a different question. But try to understand, you cannot have a join on Mardi and Mara now. No, it will be having a join with Marcy because Mardi is a child of Marcy. Mardi is not a child of Mara. So keep this in mind. These are levels, these have meanings. It's not like I can straight away go out of the blue and just do some mappings in it. The reason I stopped in data services as of now, because I don't want to show you how to load an IDOC. I want you to understand why should it be done? How do I find an IDOC? How do I design my job based on this load method? Whenever you get a mapping document, you will not never go to your BODS and design the code. No, you will not do that. You will first check out on Google what is the load mechanism for that. For materials, I know I have MatMass. For vendors, for customers, I have Cremas, DebMass. For bombs, I have bomb mat. This will come with experience. But as a beginner, you need to go to what do you call this? Um, Google, and you need to search it out. You need to find it. You need to find the load mechanism. Once you are done with the load mechanisms, let me stick to IDOC as of now. I don't want to go to BAPIs. For IDOC, you will come to W30 and you will check if all those fields that are present in your DDD mapping document, are they present? Are those tables present? Now, if my business owner tells me, hey, load MARM, okay, MARM is there. If he tells me, for example, load MARN, I see MARN is not there. I will tell him, no, I cannot load this. Give me enhance the IDOC, or give me, I will do it later on with the LSMW. You cannot tell them, hey, I can do it. No, come here first to, what do you call this? WE30 T code. Now somebody might ask you, what is a T code? Can someone answer what is a T code in the layman terms? Simple. For example, in my web-based web pages, I have a link, right? I click on this link and a form appears. I click on this link and a form appears. But in SAP, what is that? How do we open this form? They have given T codes to these forms. This T code is simply a link to that form. You are hitting a T code, you are just opening a form. That's it. These are some typical basic interview questions that the interviewer might ask you to confuse you. But you should know these things. Am I clear till now? Why I am doing this? Now I want to go to MAKT. Okay, this is MAKT. I want to open the segment editor. What can I load? Okay, I can load SPRAS. I can load MAKTX. You see, in the tables we had MAKTG as well. I cannot load that. Why? Because MAKTX and MAKTJ, the only difference is one will be in the normal case and one will be in the uppercase. So if your functional owner or data owner is giving you, hey, load MAKTG, you will tell them, hey, no, we cannot load MAKTG because that's an uppercase of MAKTX. Go to your mapping document and make that as not applicable because we cannot load it. We don't have it in the IDOC scope. This is how you tell them, hey, we cannot do this and we cannot do that. We do not blindly tell them, I will do everything. If you tell them we will do everything, they will make our life difficult. Trust me. So we need to be sure. Hey, I cannot do this. Why you cannot do this? Because this is not in the IDOC. This is just an uppercase of MAKTX. Please remove that from your DDD. Same thing for Marcy. I want to see what can I load. Okay, go to Marcy, then see, okay, I can load works. I can load works as a plant. Then this field, L1 is a deletion indicator. Okay, I can load all these fields. If some field is not there, you cannot do anything about it. And if they have kept it in DDD, you will ask them, hey, remove that. I cannot do it. Or tell me a better approach. How can I load it? I don't see it in the general method or the.
It doesn't tell which one is the mandatory in this segment.
It will not tell you. For example, we already know if I have to load Mara, Matner, and plant is necessary. That you can check at the plant table level. That's the reason when we were doing the validations, what we did, we went to Marcy and then we went to SE11. And then we at the basic level, we checked how the primary key columns are there. So I don't need to do that here now. Our validation is already done. If I want to see that, I will do that at the basic validation level. I will go to Marcy, for example. I will do
Okay, for
display.
IDOC, we just have to pass whatever validations we do here, and then we need to pass
Now
fields
I
to
am
the
done
IDOC.
with validation. That's done and dusted. Now I want to go for the load. But before loading this data, I want to see how can I load it, right? Okay, now this is like how I can see my different. I don't think so. If I have to load long text, I will use the same approach. I will get a wrapper created for read text, save text, and then I will do it because read text and save text, they are not remote enabled. I don't want to discuss this as of now because I know there are some freshers in this course. I don't want to confuse them. Let's stick to IDOC as of now. But for
Okay.
long text, I would always prefer using that read text, save text, getting a wrapper created, and then doing it. But again, there's a catch. Read text, it usually works fine. But save text, it has issues. So what most of the projects do, they create an LSMW using save text. And then they provide a file to the LSMW and load it. Because mostly save text has issues. There is only read text and save text, buddy, that I have used so far. If I need to load long text for material, I will again use the same thing, read text, save text. But yeah, I know most of the times save text has issues. I don't know why, but I seldom see people using save text. They always create an LSMW and then load the long text. Read text is okay. Okay, we are done with WE30. Now this means I know what is my load method. As of now, IDOC, as of now, MatMass. I know what fields I can load. I'm done with that. Now, suppose we loaded the data. Suppose. What is the T code to check these IDOCs? I will use either WE02 or WE05. Please remember these T codes. WE30, WE02. I go to WE02. You select the date over here. As of now, let me remove this date. And here I can have something like MatMass. Star is a wildcard. MatMass 01, 02, 03, anything that has been loaded so far, it should come. Now I want to see how many IDOCs came today. I tried to load today. Now I want to see how many IDOCs did come today. I will do this. So if you see this, there are only two IDOCs. One is 51, it means fail. 53, it means pass. 64, it means that the IDOC has just been posted to the system. It has not been processed. Okay, you will always have, mostly, not always, you will mostly have three statuses over here. 51 fail, 53 pass, and 64 you need to process that. There can be 69 as well if you edit an IDOC, but I don't want to go there. So if you want to see how many IDOCs were posted today, how many IDOCs were sent from data services, you come to W02 and you can see it over here. Why do I do that? Suppose I'm telling my data owners, hey, there are 2000 materials that I'm going to load. I will at least see 2000 IDOCs are getting posted over here, right? What if only 500 are getting posted? It means there is some issue with my code. I need to check that. And you can come here by W02 or W05 / NW05. Okay, the same thing. Again, since I'm not sure of the date, I will remove the date. And then again, in the basic type, I can do matmas star execute, and I'm good to go. I'm coming here. Okay, now I want to see, for example, I am trying to load 10,000 material. So I will post 10,000 IDOCs. I'm going to say the big picture over here would be, okay, how many material passed? 1. How many failed? 1. So you can get the big picture over here. Okay, total IDOCs you posted were 2. 1 is passed, 1 is failed. This is after you load. Okay. Now, I told you guys, if I do a double click on this IDOC, what will this IDOC basically have? This will have a control segment. Now, what is this control segment? This control segment is simply you are telling the IDOC, hey, the basic type is going to be matmas. When you are sending this IDOC, how I send it, that's a separate question. Don't go into that. But what data it's carrying, just try to see that. Visualize that. I'm telling, when I'm configuring this IDOC in BODS, I'm telling it in the IDOC control segment, hey, this IDOC is matmas05. Message type is matmas. I need to tell it the address, right? From where you are coming and to where you are going. Now I will tell it some details, recipient information. Now, what basis? This will always be done by the basis team. You don't need to worry about this. The ports will be created, the partner functions will be created, the partner profiling will be done by them. You don't need to worry about all these details. But you need to send it. You need to configure your IDOCs in your BODS and you need to keep these details over there. Now, what is the partner number? S4 local. What is the partner type? This is LS. Same thing for the sender information. Okay, this is coming from SAP S4H. Partner system is S4 SCLNT 000. Nothing to worry about here because everything will be done by the basis guys. We don't need to care for this. They will just share these details with us, and when we configure IDOCs in data services, we will use these details. I don't want to do anything here. I want to go into details now. I should have, no. I think this is R key, right? There should be a field for IDOC, R key. I need to check that where that is. I think, yeah, it should be there. I think this is the identification. This is the R key. Why do we use this? I will tell you later on. But this is important. We will always use R key when we are trying to load data. If we don't use R key, we will not be able to tell how many of our IDOCs passed and how many of those IDOCs failed when the number system is internal. What is internal, what is external, I will go through that, but I don't want to confuse you as of now with that. Okay, now the first thing what I told is I will go to WE30. Okay, I know this matmas does exist. The second thing you will do after WE30, before going to BODS, you will check, is the partner profiling done for this? So how do we check the partner profile? / and WE20. Okay, so the moment you go to, this will be done by the basis team all 99% of the times. But if it's not done, I will show you how to do it. So if somebody asks you in your interviews, hey, how do we do the partner profile of an IDOC? Your answer should be, we will go to WE20 and we can do it there. How do we do it? I will show you. I will open this partner type LS. Mostly LS will be used for the data services. How they create it, that's not our concern. Everything will be set up by the basis guys. Now, do you see this S4 LNT? Now this partner number is S4 HCLNT. Partner type logical system LS, right? This is logical system. Partner type has been set up as LS. You will pose the same detail. You will give the same details for in an IDOC in the data services. Now, when I go downwards, there are two types of iDocs, outbound and inbound. If I'm not wrong, inbound is something that is coming from the external system to SAP. Now, sometimes two SAP systems can also communicate to one another, right? In such cases, they use the outbound iDocs. But in case of data services, we use the inbound iDocs. Inbound is when I am sending an iDoc from data services, a third party, to my SAP system. Here you need to check if the iDoc that you are intending to use is that present over here. For me, I want to check MatMas. So I will go down. Okay, MatMas is there. If it's not there, then you need to get it partner profiled. How we do it? You just need to click this create inbound parameter. Just give a message type, give a process code. Here you have two options, trigger immediately, trigger by background program. I would always suggest do trigger by background program. Do not do trigger immediately. Why? Suppose you are sending 100,000 iDocs from data services to your S4 HANA system. So what it will do, it will trigger it at the same time. So there's a chance you might get a timeout error because the iDoc is getting posted and triggered at the same time. It will take some time, right? Other than that, what we do is I will do trigger by background program. What I am trying to do, hey, just post the iDocs to the SAP system from BODS. Then later on, I will process it using BD87. How do we do it? I will show you, but I will not select a trigger immediately unless I have some 100, 200 records. It's okay. But even in that case, for example, you triggered your load job by mistake. Now you had trigger immediately. Your data is loaded. You were not supposed to load data. If you are doing trigger by background program, data will not get loaded. You will have all the iDocs in 64 status. You still have the chance to correct the mistake. But if you're using trigger immediately, there is no coming back. You already loaded the data. Then you need to get it deleted. That's a different thing altogether. But how do we partner profile the data? We go to WE20, we go to inbound iDocs, and then we give the message type and the process code. I have already done it for MatMas, so I will show you. Okay, let me double click on this. You see, for MatMas, this is the message type and MATM is the process code. I am doing trigger immediately, but I should do trigger by background program. I do this, then I do save. The moment you do this, your iDoc has been partner profiled. What does this mean? It means now you can send an iDoc from the outside world to S4 HANA system, and S4 HANA system will understand, okay, this is my iDoc, this is the sender address, this is the receiver address, and I know this iDoc. You are just trying to set up, communicate the two systems now, data services and iDoc. You follow me? Sorry, data services and S4 HANA system. The first step, you go to WE30 for an iDoc, you check all the segments. If everything is present, yes. Second step, you go to WE20. You do the partner profiling. Inside partner profiling, what you do, you give the, what do you call that? You give the message type, you give the process code, and then you set up whether the iDoc will be processed immediately or it will be triggered by the background program. You save it. Once you are done till here, then we go to SAP and then we do like the mapping. How do I send the iDoc from BODS to S4 HANA system? I will cover that in the next session. But what is the prerequisite to do that? I hope you understand. So I have shown you how many T codes. One is WE30, one is WE20, one is WE02 or WE05. If someone asks you, hey, I tried to post 100 iDocs, how can I see how many iDocs got posted in the S4 HANA system? The answer is, I use the T code W0 to W05, I go to SAP system and I see how many got posted. Somebody asks you, hey, how do you partner profile an iDoc? Simple, go to WE 20, and you can do the pattern profiling over there. Somebody might ask you, okay, I give you an object and I ask you, hey, this is the mapping document, see if you can load it by this side of, how will you do it? You can tell him, I can go to W30 and I can check those segment editor. I can check if those fields are present there or not. If
Just
yes,
one query, Brad. Who does this partner profile setup? Basis team or the functional team?
mostly basis, mostly 99% of the time, but sometimes they miss out on something. They, for example,
should we give any inputs to them? Like we have to give the message type, and we also have to
just
mention.
if you are able to do it in 2 minutes, who goes to basis team and come
Yeah.
back in 3 days, right?
Yeah.
If I don't want to, I'm not telling you for the sake of doing it. I'm telling you for the sake of your interview, because this will be asked.
I think based on functional consultants' input basis setup, I believe.
Yeah, basis team will always set this up. But sometimes, okay, I give you a scenario. For example, they had 20 objects in scope. Now later on, after some 6 months, they decide, okay, we will have one more object in scope. Basis team already configured 20 idocs, but this 21st, I don't want to go to basis team and do it. I will simply come here and do it. I can do it.
Ideally, we should have the access to the T code, and then we should be able
You will be having, mostly you will be having.
Okay.
Is it clear till now? Any questions? I am deliberately stopping at the validation, preload, postload. I don't want to go to load as of now. I want you guys to play with SAP system so that you understand how this looks, how do we check the data, how do we check these idocs, functions, how do we even query out the data in S4 itself. Sometimes you might have a scenario like, hey, can you please tell me how many materials are there for plant XXX? Now you don't have, at the basic level, you don't have a plant, right? You can straight away join or 2 or more tables in the SAP itself. You don't need to have data services for that. How do we do that? I will show you. You can even do that. Basic querying in S4 itself. But before loading any data, I want you to play with the system. Please go to this S4 and try to just check it. Go to Google, check any T codes like SE11, SE16. How do I see data? What if, for example, I'm going to Marcy? Now I want to go to SE11 is like checking the field level details. Now, if I want to simply see data, I will go to SE16. What if, for example, function is not possible? Why? /n SE16. Saranya, for you, /n means open a new window and close this window. Okay, this window will get closed and a new window will open. And understand, I don't want this window to open, but if I want this window to exist and open one more window, I do /o, /n/o, followed by T code. Now I want to see Marcy data. Now you see, I have 2 fields over here. I want to add one more field for filtration. What is this filter? This screen is like you have 4 fields over there. Maximum number of hits. It will only give me 500. If I remove it, I can get all the records, right? For example, I want to see for plant, say 1020. Okay, want to see the data.
we directly use SE16N. It's a newer version.
I don't like to use that personally, buddy. I always go. Maybe I'm too old. I don't like that SE16.
SE16N and SE16H. These are the new
H is for header. I know that. H is like when you want to group the data together.
Yeah, the group and join.
So okay. So let's say 001. Saranya, I'm doing this for you because I want you to remember like how we can do it. Because mostly here people are like functional consultants. I understand that. But there are some guys who are freshers. So please try to understand these things, basic things. What is this 0001? Okay, let me show you one thing. Suppose I want to see how many materials are there for 0001. So this is just a filter. Is it 0001 or 001? Okay, 21. If you just want to see the number of entries, how many are there, you can just click on this and get it. But if you want to just see the data, okay, you can have this much of data, right? Now, You want to see, okay, I don't want data for all these P stats. I just want D. I don't want D, V, and D. Now, how do I use this as a filter, P stat, if it's not there, right? So I can go to system. Where is this? Okay, no, I can go to settings, field for selection, and just select this P stat. Done. Okay, now P stat D, and this works as 0001. Now I can get the data only for those things. So this is just to filter out the data, just for the sake of freshers. But please remember this: WE30, WE20, WE02, WE05, SE11, SE16. Now, I think someone was asking me about SE16N. I don't use this, I don't like this screen, yeah. It's okay. But yeah, you can simply keep on changing the screens. It's easy over here. What is a description table? For example, I want to see T006. T006 is my unit of measure table. Okay, if it has any description table, that's T006A. Now I want to show you what is this T006. Let me show you T006 first. Now you can see like unit of measure, these are units of measure. How do you measure things like box, piece, days, hours? Now if I want to see the text for this, so SAP is telling me, okay, for this T006, T006A is the, what do you call that? This is a text table. Now if I want to see for unit of measure, say PC, ST, I think it will take PC, right? Okay. Now this is like the text table for this. So it's like for ZH, they have maintained like PC, then this is the description. This is like text tables. For unit of measure, they have maintained a text table T006A. This is what this means. For T006, there won't be any text table now, right? So they don't have, they have not given any text table over here. But for Mara, what is a text table? MAKT. For Marcy, is there any text table? No. For T001, is there any text table? No. What about T005? No, 5. Now I'm unable to write 5. Yeah, T005T. T005 is C, countries. This is a lookup table for countries, right? Now, if I see this data for countries, this AD, you see, AD is for Andorra, A is for United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan, Falana Dimkana. Now, if I want to see at the text table level, I can go here, then for, say, for country equal to AE. So this is how SAP maintains its data for text. See, for AE, why have they maintained this country A in so many languages? You see, this is Chinese, this is some other language, this is some other language. Because SAP system, you have you can set the languages as well, right? When you connect to the SAP system. If somebody sets up his system in China, then he can get the Chinese description. He cannot understand English, right? So in all, that's the reason they will maintain these text tables. As of now, for this country A, you have so many languages. What is this language? I don't know what is the DA, but if person from this country opens the system or language, he will see all these details like this because he doesn't understand English. Simple. That's the reason they are giving text in different languages.